Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Electric Sheep. You might have noticed our different background. We're in the same place, we've just pointed at a different wall. So, no worries. It hasn't been a huge change or anything like that. We're all still on the same page. Uh, and you might have noticed that my glasses are broken. I probably could have pretended like it wasn't like that, but it is actually only one arm there. But you can pretend like you didn't notice that. Alrighty, let's get things going with Child of the Earth and Stars.
Child of the Earth and Stars. Among the space-dwelling benefactors, the Neanderthal Knights were not raised as children. They were not born into families or held in arms. They were constructed lives, awakened already half-formed, their minds seeded with obedience, battle doctrine, and loyalty older than memory. From the moment their eyes opened beneath artificial suns, they were surrounded by steel hulls and gravity tuned for war. Their bones were reinforced, their muscles accelerated by nutrient vats and directed evolution. Pain was introduced early, not as cruelty, but as calibration. They learned to endure vacuum drills, radiation storms, and blade combat before they learned names. Their training was precise, relentless, and impersonal. They were taught history as data, honor as protocol, and sacrifice as inevitability. Love was absent, not forbidden, but unnecessary. The benefactors honored them deeply, yet from a distance. The knights were revered tools, living shields and living weapons, each one aware that their purpose was singular: protect those who could not protect themselves among the stars. They were mighty, brilliant in war, fearless beyond reason. But they were never held as infants. No one whispered to them in the dark. No one worried if they would survive the night. They were knights of the stars, but not born to them. Arthur's beginning was nothing like this. He entered the world cold, fragile, and screaming, placed not in a gestation cradle of alloy, but in trembling human arms. His first lessons were not discipline or combat, but warmth. His mother learned the rhythms of his breathing, feared every cough, celebrated every gained pound as a miracle. His father fed him with calloused hands, earned from the soil, not from forged weapons. Where the Star Knights were hardened by design, Arthur was strengthened by patience. On Earth, strength came slowly. Arthur worked before he trained. He lifted stones not because a regimen demanded it, but because a field needed clearing. He learned pain not as a test, but as consequence. Hunger was real. Cold was real. Failure was real. Where the Neanderthal Knights of the benefactors were taught never to doubt their purpose, Arthur had to discover his. When his strength began to show, it was not isolated in sterile arenas. It was witnessed by neighbors, whilst challenged by rivals, tempered by rules and mercy. His blows were guided by mentors who feared what he might become if unrestrained. The sword was placed in his hand only after years of restraint, prayer, and discipline. He was taught that power without restraint was savagery, and that a knight existed not to dominate, but to serve. The Star Knights trained endlessly for wars that might come. Arthur trained for people he could see. The benefactors, knights knew honor as command structure and legacy. Arthur learned honor when he chose to stand between cruelty and the helpless, even when no one watched. The Neanderthal Knights of the Stars were superior beings shaped for survival beyond worlds. Arthur was a human son shaped by love, loss, faith, and effort. And yet, when we observed him as he stood in armor forged by human hands, when we saw him ride into battle not as a weapon, but as a promise, we understood what our cloning vats and genetic mastery had never produced. The Knights of the Stars were perfect protectors. Arthur was something rarer. He carried the strength of ancient blood and the soul of a fragile world. He understood both command and compassion. He could stand among the benefactors' finest and not diminish them, yet he could kneel among peasants and not diminish himself. He was not only what we created, he was what Earth completed. And when I looked upon him, standing beneath the open sky rather than an artificial one, I knew his true name. Not the one his parents gave him, but the one written in the long memory of our kind. He was the bridge between soil and cosmos, between warmth and void, a child of the earth and stars.
Well, I really liked how that turned out. Um, I gave the guidelines for that, but the bulk of that was all Chat GPT. I will comment that when it was describing the coldness of how the Star Knights are raised, that nobody cared if they survived when they were growing up. That that I guess that would make our character Arthur the exception, not the rule. That someone amongst the benefactors above the knights cared enough to allow humans to care for one of their Neanderthal Star Knights. And so, like I said, uh, I guess that makes our character the exception, not the way it would normally be. But they do emphasize that they are honored just at a distance, and so they do, in a way, in a cold way, care for their knights, as it were. Or at least that's the way I interpreted it, even though it seems to be a much less family oriented way of living. It's more programmed and regimented. And whereas Arthur, well, he was raised like a human being by human beings. And so when it refers to him as a human son, I don't think that necessarily refers to his blood, but by the fact that he was raised in humanity, he is a son of humanity. Um, but yeah, it's a pretty good story. As much as people criticize AI as being bad writers, I would like to think that maybe I've had a positive influence on the AI as it tries to mimic my way of writing, and maybe we can together come up with some interesting ideas. I like the way both these stories pair together, the first story and the sequel here. So if you are interested in this story and you didn't listen to the episode before this one, I would recommend it because that's where the story starts. Well, anyways, I'm Captain Canada, Joseph Arthur Roszell. I want to thank you for watching. I want to wish you all the luck in the world. I love you very much. And I want you to know that suicide is never, ever the answer. Peace out for now.